basically what happened was we ended up, when we had all of these people, throughout the organization, we started ordering new vehicles because, we had to replace older vehicles. Like I was saying, I work in fleet department, so basically our main job is to, make sure that units are suitable for, people to operate and people to work. And so what ended up happening was after they got rid of all these people, all of these new units were supposed to replace old ones, and they let all the people go. So with that being said, there was a whole bunch of inventory that was ordered already that got shipped into each location. So we have a whole bunch of new units just sitting on the lot. And so with that being said, the project manager of Fleet thought of the idea of basically trying to issue out newer units to units that we had in the fleet, but basically the team that we tried to issue them out to it wouldn't suit their job, so that was out. And so basically now we're in this limbo of how do we get rid of these new trucks, and their idea is to basically replace any vehicle that we recently got, but ones that have miles on them, basically. At that point, we would basically be, paying more money to get them out of the inventory, but in a sense, we would pay less if we got rid of the units that we've used already and just replaced them with the new ones. So right now, we're in the middle of that project, and that project might take a long time because we have to figure out how to get the new units out of there. So yeah, that's basically something new that we're working on in our fleet department, and that's, pretty much it. But Josh, you could go ahead and put the title up today. It's called Building Stronger Ground. So I noticed that me personally can sometimes be concerned on things that shouldn't be a concern for me. And I feel like I'm not the only person that does this, right? I feel like sometimes we view things in a way that we may view it, and we put too much concern into it. And, how this came about actually, me and Pastor were talking about a conversation a few weeks back, and, he's basically telling me that, I have to learn to not let those things get to me, right? And I have to learn how to deflect those issues and just go on about my own being. And so, when Pastor talks to me, I actually take a lot of what he says into consideration in my life because it actually benefits me. And so, when Pastor said that, it actually showed me that not only in the situation that I was talking to him about, it occurs in my current life anyway, especially at work and stuff nowadays, especially with new management and so forth, right? So, me personally, I have been learning to just ignore particular things that may bother me and also realize why these particular things may bother me. I feel like we don't really necessarily think about, we think about the main issue, which is, oh, this issue is bothering me, and so forth. And it's like, when you actually think deep into it, why is it bothering you in the first place? Right? And it's like, is it your own insecurity, your jealousy, or whatever the case may be? And what I come to realize, maybe me personally, I could have them all. And I'm not saying that I don't, and I don't really know if I really do, but the thing is like, at the end of the day, we all have that kind of tactic in us. Whether we say we don't or whether we say we do, it's the same thing. And, even if it's not that, it couldn't be that. It could be that or it couldn't be that. But even if it's not, then at that point, it shouldn't really bother you anyway if you're secured in God, right? And so I really been thinking about that for my own life, is that, to me personally, do I really feel secure, right? If I did, then why would I think these things? Why would these kind of things bother me, right? And, I can say that, oh, wow, I'm secure in God. I believe in God. Yes, I can say those things, but, there's some things in life and some things in all of us that show that we can possibly not really fully believe in God. In my life now, God is teaching me how to become thick-skinned, because trial and error may come in my life, but he's teaching me as a leader that I need to learn how to be ready, because it may become more in the future, and God may give me more responsibilities, or whatever the case may be, and he wants me to be able to handle what obstacles may come along the way with any situation that may arise. And so, I really been thinking about that, is that God is going to, God is trying to help me become stronger and better, right? Because at the end of the day, I don't know why I always say that, but it's whatever. The thought of pastor saying Arshonti's favorite word, right? And so that just came to my mind, but it was actually funny. But yeah, I'm not going to say it. Anyway, God is teaching me as a leader what I need to learn for down the line. And if I'm not able to accept what God is asking me to do now, what God is teaching me now, here, when other things come, I'm not going to be able to know how to handle the situation, right? And that's why I talk about being open-minded to what pastors ask you to do, but not only what pastors ask you to do, what God is asking you to do. I feel like, we think that if we don't believe what God says is going to happen, that everything's going to be all right. It's not. And so with God teaching me how to become stronger in this area, I honestly see that it's actually occurring a lot more now that God has brought it to my attention of I need to learn to become more stronger in the area, right? And so I'll give you an example. So this week, I had another kind of incident with my regional manager this week, right? And so like I was telling you guys, she could be very tough in the words that she uses. And so, there was an incident where a transport company had to bring a new vehicle from the dealership to the location in San Jose. And basically, I went on PTO last week. Was it last week? Yeah. I went on PTO all of last week for the youth retreat. And so during the youth retreat, they decided they wanted to drop it off while I was not there, but they drop it off after hours, right? And majority of these transport companies know to drop off the keys in the night box. It's basically a box that they could drop the key off in and go on about their day. This transport company decided to drop the keys off under it's this warehouse thing. It's kind of like a pallet. Under a pallet outside, just out in the open. And so I get back to the office on Tuesday, because I go to San Jose on Tuesday. I alternate my days in offices. And when I get back there, she so happens to be there, I get a message on Teams, and she's basically she's like, dude, these keys were found under this thing, right? And so I immediately go out there and I tell her the story. And, I basically tell her that this is not just a new thing. This is happening all the time. And so how it may have been worded was that the keys that I have currently, I may not have any keys to the other vehicles, and she kind of took it like, she was like, so what other vehicles don't have keys in them, right? And so in that moment, I'm like, you know what? I'll just go get a key and we'll see if there's a key inside. And there so happened to be a key inside, right? And so basically, like, I basically got in trouble for it. And she was like, see, this is the kind of stuff that I want you to start looking out for, and this, that, and the third. And I basically said, okay, and, you know, took it for what it is. She was basically like saying, if you don't want to do the work, then, you know, I'll find somebody else. But, so I went on lunch, then I came back from lunch, and I actually talked to one of her warehouse managers that report up to her, and I basically told him the incident. And I basically was telling him that the key that she found was the key that I was looking for. And, you know, I didn't think of it until I actually went back to work and then came back and realized that that key was the key I was looking for, because I moved the unit that day and the key wasn't inside the yellow envelope like it was supposed to be. So I was telling him the situation, and he was like, I don't think you should stay quiet on this one. I think you should actually like tell her the situation, because, you know, he's basically giving me this like kind of like two-handed thing, right? Would you rather her be upset at you for a mistake that you didn't make and basically you take the hit for it, or would you rather tell her the situation and actually, you know, tell her that it wasn't your fault, right? And my first thought was I told him, I was like, I just don't want her to like think that like, you know, I'm some kind of bad person because I had the issue before where, you know, the battery was dead on the vehicle and this, that, and the third. And he was telling me like, yeah, I don't think you should stay quiet. And so he was like, you know, I'll talk to her and basically tell her the story, because it seems like you don't want to talk to her about this and stuff. And so, you know, I'm like, I can let him talk to her, but maybe this is my opportunity to actually make things right and actually not be so afraid to talk to her just because she's more on the tougher side, right? And so what I did was I literally walked up to her and I was like, hey, Nina, can I talk to you? And basically broke down the whole story about, you know, what happened and how it was the manager's fault. And the key that she found was the key I was looking for. I just didn't want to make it seem like I wasn't doing my job. And, you know, she was actually very thankful that I actually came and talked to her. She was actually very nice to me in that conversation and actually told me a few other things that, you know, basically that she doesn't want me to be afraid to talk to her. What she's trying to do is build me up to another level. And, you know, then she, you know, basically I was telling her the whole situation. Then she started asking about my workload. And so she basically was saying that, like, you know, she sees that I have a lot of workload and she's trying to be able to distribute that out to other people. But what I realize is that, you know, it's not so bad, you know, being able to learn and, you know, what I realized is that previous to her, I had a nicer manager that was more understanding, that she was more on the nicer side. And then I have a manager that's more on the tougher side. The difference is this one on this side wanted better for me. And, you know, she was just a nicer individual. She could be tough at times too. But then I have another manager on this side that's, you know, on the tough side. But she's on the tough side so that she can build me up, right? And so that's what I mean by building stronger ground, is that I'm starting to realize after what Pastor told me is that it's not a bad thing of what's happening at my job right now. It's actually a very good thing, because it's teaching me a different way of management and two different ways of management, and not saying that one is bad, right? she's doing is she's building my character to be able to handle situations as if she handled them, right? And what I realize is that while she's handling these situations like this, it's been very successful for her. Like, she's been at Tesla for a very long time, and she's been with the warehouse department for a very long time. And the way that she handles things, what I come to realize is she still never got fired. And why is that? It's because she has the management tactics to be able to promote her people up. Not only promote her people up, but to be able to explain like the department that she runs, you know. She doesn't know fully of what fleet is, right? But what she does know is that we had the basics. And what she's trying to do is build us beyond the basic. Right? And I have to be willing to accept that. And, you know, even though sometimes I don't want to face her because, like, I'm me personally, I try to stay in the back so that I don't have to worry about, you know, getting in trouble or anything like that. But what I realize is that she's really actually just trying to help me, and I shouldn't be so afraid to go talk to her and tell her the situation. And I feel like nowadays God is showing me a lot more about myself and pointing out areas I may have never known that I actually had in myself. And I feel like a lot of us don't know the areas that we have in ourselves because we don't want to accept, right? And what I mean by accept is, like, for me personally, when Pastor told me the situation, I started really pondering on my situation. I feel like some people, and even myself before, some people, what they do is they tend to get something and they ponder on it for a very long time and they never go anywhere, right? And when you ponder on something, basically what you're doing is you don't want to apply it, but you have it in your mind what you should apply. And you start to realize that life is not doing you any better, but you still don't want to remember what God is asking you to do. And as he's pointing these things out in my life, what I'm starting to realize is that I'm actually very more open to doing the thing that my current manager, my regional manager, asked me to do. Like this week, basically, I went and talked to my manager that I report to directly. As you guys know, the previous weeks I was telling you guys about how they basically made me go out there and hand wash the car and this, that, and the third, right? And then this other opportunity arose. And, you know, I was like, I'm really not trying to go wash this person's car because it's a new person that's getting, you know, a vehicle. He just got hired. And I'm like, I am not trying to go hand wash this car. But then I thought about it, and I had $5 in my wallet. So I literally took the car down the street to the car wash, and I actually washed the car, hand washed it without any complaints. And, you know, some people would just be like, you know, oh, that was a situation. I'm just never going to do it again, right? And at that point, what God is trying to show you just shows that you don't care. And, you know, I care about what God tells me. I care about what God is showing me. I care about the current situations that I'm in. Why? It's because I remember that it's nothing that I did on my own. This life that I have is nothing that I gained by myself. At the end of the day, God, I said it again, at the end of the day, God can take it all away. And, you know, if he's just asking me to do one simple thing, which is just go wash a car for, it only takes you 10 minutes, then hey, and whatever, just go wash the car, take me 10 minutes, and then go on about my day, right? But I can't sit there and ponder on, like, oh my goodness, man, I gotta go wash this car again. It's just wasting my time. It's wasting my day. Well, at the end of the day, you're wasting your own time. God doesn't need to wait for you. He waits for you because he wants his people to make the right decision. He waits for you because he wants his people to prosper. He waits for you because you are his children, and he did one simple thing for you guys, which was laid his son's life down on the cross. So it doesn't take much, whether that be time, whether that be a pair of clothes, shoes, whatever. I don't know. It doesn't take much to do one simple thing. But at the end of the day, sometimes we make it seem like it's so hard. And now that I'm facing my problems, it's really showing me a lot more about myself, of what I need to build on, what I have issues with, right? And this message is not just for me. I want everyone in here to think about the issues that we still have currently, stuff that we've been pondering on, and stuff that we need to fix, and we know we need to fix it. Why wait to fix something? Why wait to build a firm foundation that could have been built 10 years ago? That could have been built 5 years ago, literally 5 days ago, who knows? But if we're just waiting, then what is the purpose? Did God wait for us so he could put his son on the cross? No, he didn't have a time. He didn't have a time limit. And he did it he basically did it to save us. But we can't just save our time and think we're going to move somewhere, because at the end of the day, we don't have that much time left. When I think about the problems that I have, if I didn't have them, I wouldn't be able to fix anything. I would just try and be this picture perfect guy that, doesn't have all these problems, right? You could think that way, but then guess what? You just have a big hole in your heart. If you're not releasing your problems, if you're not bringing your problems to God, or if God is not correcting you on your situations, you should be scared. At that point, you're not allowing God to fix anything in you. And that's why some people stay stagnant. That's why some people don't move. They don't get the greater blessing because they just don't want to. As simple as that. People complain that, God isn't doing this for me. No, God wants to do it for you. You're just taking forever to allow God to do it for you. And without these problems that have been occurring over these past couple of months, actually, me telling you guys the issues that I'm going through, and then I'm not going to say it, if I didn't go through these things, then I wouldn't be able to continue to keep doing this preaching stuff, honestly. Pastor always tells the people that preach up here, you have to be able to tell people about the things that you actually go through, and not just come up here and try to be this picture perfect person. What are people going to learn? Nothing. Me personally, I have a whole lot of issues that some I didn't even know I had. And I feel like some of us know we have problems and we just don't talk about them. I think personally, I'm starting to realize that things that I think that matter don't really matter. Sorry. And nowadays, I'm actually thinking about ways of how I can be better and build a stronger ground myself. I can't be afraid of constructive criticism, even though in small situations I'm not, but I feel like with my regional manager's case, I'm very I don't know. very like scared to like talk to her, and it's like very weird now. But I had to be willing to not be afraid of that thing. Like even with music, right? I used to be very like arrogant in being corrected in music. Rather that be with APC, Joshua Motto, whoever the case may be, I used to be very arrogant. And like anytime they brought something to my attention, honestly, I would basically like push back on them and tell them no. And yeah, you see where that got me? Nowhere. Because I was taken down from rap. Lovely. But nowadays, I'm able to just accept it. And yes, sometimes it may not be stuff that I want. So, of course, I'll tell them like, hey, this is not something that I like or whatever the case may be. And, it works out that way. But I can't always just be like, oh, no, you ain't changing my song. Okay, well, God gonna change you for sure. Right? And so I've been learning that in my situations now, I'm not having any emotional or attachment to anything that may bother me. I've been trying to really work towards not being bothered by these things. And I've really been pushing towards not being emotionally attached and everything of the sort. So, now when I go to my regional manager, I just talk to her like I'm a normal person. If she corrects me, hey, I'll get corrected, whatever. It's just like getting corrected by pastors. I mean, it may not feel good, but it's actually going to help you later. Let's go to Matthew 5, 1 through 12. When Jesus saw his ministry drawing huge crowds, he climbed a hillside. Those who were to him. The committed climbed with him. Arriving at a quiet place, he sat down and taught his climbing companions. This is what he said: "You're blessed when you're at the end of your rope. With the less of you, there's more of God in his rule. You're blessed when you feel you've lost what is most dear to you. Only then can you be embraced by the one most dear to you. You're blessed when you're content with just who you are, no more, no less. That's the moment you find yourselves proud owners of everything that can't be bought. You're blessed when you've worked up a good appetite for God. He's food and drink in the best meal. Best meal you'll ever eat. You're blessed when you care. At the most of being careful, you find yourselves cared for. You're blessed when you get your inside world, your mind and heart put right. Then you can see what God is in the outside. Then you can see God in the outside world. You're blessed when you can show people how to cooperate instead of compete or fight. That's when you discover who you really are. And your place is God's family. Your place when your commitment to God provokes persecution. The persecution drives you even deeper into God's kingdom. Not only that, count yourselves blessed every time people put you down or throw you out or speak lies about you to discredit me. What it means is that the truth is too close for comfort and they are uncomfortable. That's what I wanted to talk about too. I forgot to mention this at this end part right here. Where is it at? Because I put it in here. Somewhere in here. But what I'm learning now is that I'm learning to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations. I don't know if people have actually heard this, but what that means is something that you don't like, you have to learn to adjust and just be like you don't care about it, right? And it's very hard, actually. That's when you discover who you really are and you place in God's family. Where was that at? Yeah. You're blessed when your commitment to God provokes persecution. The persecution drives you even deeper into God's kingdom. Not only that, count yourselves blessed every time people put you down or throw you out or speak lies about you to discredit me. What it means is that the truth is too close for comfort and they are uncomfortable. You could be glad when that happens. Give a cheer even, for though they don't like it, I do, and all heaven applauds. And know that you are in good company. My prophets and witnesses have always gotten into this kind of trouble. Isaiah 53, 7 through 12. He was beaten, he was tortured, but he didn't say a word. Like a lamb taken to be slaughtered, and like a sheep being sheared. He took it all in silence. Justice miscarried, and he was let off. And did anyone really know what was happening? He died without a thought for his own welfare, beaten bloody for the sins of my people. They buried him with the wicked, threw him in the grave with a rich man, even though he'd never hurt a soul and said one word that wasn't true. Still, it's what God had in mind all along, to crush him with pain. The plan was that he give himself as an offering for sin so that he'd see life come from it. Life and more life. And God's plan will deeply prosper through him. Out of that terrible travail of soul, he'll see that it's worth it and be glad he did it. Through what he experienced, my righteous one, my servant, will make many righteous ones, as he himself carries the burden of their sins. Therefore, I'll reward him extravagantly, the best of everything, the highest honors, because he looked death in the face and didn't flinch. But he embraced the company of the lowest. He took on his shoulders the sin of many. He took up the cause of all the black sheep. Not only is God showing me this for myself, right? God is actually showing me so that I'm able to teach such people like Tylen, such people like Darian, people that I oversee, right? Like Josh, over here raising his hand. But this is something that is real, something that I go through, something that I'm able to say that, I may not be the bestest person at being able to deflect things. I'm really not, honestly. But God is teaching me these things so people can actually learn from me. I'm able to teach people when situations like this happen to them. If I didn't go through this, then I wouldn't be able to teach anything, and I wouldn't be able to be a leader. A leader has to go through things, even if it hurts them. A leader has to be able to overcome these things and actually become stronger in the area rather than moping in the area. And I'm very thankful that God is showing me these things, because it shows that, I have weaker spots in my heart that I need to fix. I need to grow up in that area and not be so childlike in the area. I'm thankful God shows me the things that I need to take care of in my life. And I feel like a lot of people aren't thankful enough because they don't see what can actually happen when you actually take care of what you need to take care of. Life's going to go on. It's not going to wait for you. It's not going to stop time. Nothing's going to stop for you. The clock goes 24/7, 7 days a week. It doesn't stop. And if you want to keep going 24/7, 7 days a week with the same routine that you're doing, be my guest. But what I will tell you is that if you actually obey what God is showing you and ask you to do, your life will become better. It will prosper. And a lot of things that you don't know that you have will come out, and you will be glad that they do. Building a stronger ground is probably the bestest thing that you could do, rather than having a ground that's unstable. building your life on faith is probably the strongest thing you can ever do. But if your faith is weak, then there's no way you can move. God is the only thing that operates for you in your life. You can't do nothing on your own. You can't do nothing by your own strength. You try to do it by your own strength, you fail. Just like going to work out, right? If you go and you go for a day, you're like, oh yes, I'm gonna build these muscles. I'm gonna be strong, right? And then 2 days later, you're at home and you're like, oh, I'm too tired to go to the gym. At the end of the day, you're not going to become stronger. And you're just going to continue to stay weak because you're not building up the progression that you need to build. So with that, I think everyone should start learning how to build a stronger ground and not be so lightly in what God is asking you to do. Amen.